As we continue to roll, it is your boy Professor G, Mark Gray back at it, OG Sports Rap on Substack and the network. Remember, download the mobile app, tell about 500,000 of your close personal friends, and we can do the damn thing, y'all. 24/7, 365, computer, smartphone, tablet, however you get your podcast on, we going to be there. And I just wanted to take a deeper dive, and maybe I'm too close to it, into this the layers of what transpired with the Ravens and the Raiders, because there seems to be, and I've listened to some analysis earlier today from experts, guys who are far more closer to the nuances of collective bargaining, free agency, contract negotiations, what have you. And the question has to be asked right now is just how hurt Max Crosby is, really, because we've got conflicting stories from either camp right now. And I think that perhaps, and if it did play out like this, and the agent did know it, then Baltimore may have a legitimate reason for backing out. Because if he was just beginning the rehab process after his surgery, Max Crosby did have surgery on his knee, right? So that is a big factor. So you're going through the rehab process. The doctor says, from the team that you've been working with, probably the doctor that you've been working with, said, hey, you're ahead of the pace right now. My question is, if Baltimore knows that, or if the Raiders know that, why do you proceed with a deal? I mean, it defies all logic. And to me, um, you got to look at the Raiders as a team that I don't think would be shady and try to pull a gangster move like that. They just don't. And Baltimore is normally on the up and up, so you got to believe that somewhere in the middle lies a truth, and a truth of, well, if you're inside your little ownership brotherhood or front office brotherhood, I don't really believe anybody is unethical enough to trade you damaged goods that they know are damaged. Okay, let's be clear about that. Now again, I'm adding a moral compass here to billionaires, and we know everything goes when you live that life. But in this particular instance, you got a Ravens organization that traditionally has been pristine, traditionally has been one of the best run, most successful franchises on the field in the league. They normally do their due diligence. Now, I gotta ask, how could you not know about his rehab process when you're deciding to make a move with that kind of financial impact? It's head scratching, because we're not talking about a functionally illiterate front office. Let's be clear. This ain't Cleveland. Sorry, Cleveland. Okay. Your front office is a bunch of idiots. Okay. Yeah, draft picks can't get it right, have four quarterbacks and don't have one. No, this is not Cleveland. It's Baltimore. Now, you can make an argument that they've underachieved in the field for the last couple of years. So that's why John Harbaugh is coaching the Giants. But still, there is no blueprint. Nobody speaks in a way of shade towards either of those franchises, and especially with Tom Brady and the ownership, the Raiders have to carry it a totally different way. So how do we get this to this embarrassing moment? And for me, it's an embarrassing moment more for the league than it is the two teams, because you got two teams making the wrong kind of headlines when you figure they had captivated their markets with this big move. Now everybody's got a reset from a fan standpoint, and that doesn't do anything to buy you any time. I will say this, however, if it comes uh, truth to power, that and get indeed it was going to take a longer rehab for Max Crosby to be available for the Ravens. I mean, you learning a new system, you trying to get in touch with what Jesse Minter wants to do with his defense. So there's a orientation process. That's what mini camps and stuff like that for. So if you're coming into a team and you can't be ready for mini camp, I can understand what the Ravens are doing. I can. But it just comes out. I don't know, something seems weird about it. Before it becomes public, and I don't know if this was, great reporting that broke these stories, or where, sometimes teams put it out there on their social media handles that they've agreed with deals or what have you. But this was supposed to be a reset. And given that the pivot was so fast to TREY Hendrickson, I mean, hey, look, when you're fighting for a championship, it's never really about the team. Okay. Let's be clear about something here. Teams don't win championships in sports. I said that. Teams don't win championships in sports. Organizations do. Okay. From the drafting to the coaching to the scouting, the trade making, it is a collaborative effort to be a world champ. Okay. So, and that's really what I'm so confused about. If this had been like, say, the the Raiders in Cleveland coming up with some kind of mysterious controversy around in a transaction, you'd buy it. Okay, you'd buy it. You don't buy it with Baltimore. They're too smart, too shrewd. They have a foundation that was laid by Shaq Harris that has been kind of moved forward, if you will, in some sense, by Eric DeCosta. They not playing checkers. Okay, they're playing chess, and I think really just looking at it from a around the way perspective, shall we call it? I think that Steve Bisciotti and Eric DeCosta were 2 steps ahead of the Raiders on this. And they knew when they came to a moment where they could substantiate a Ray to get out and get a healthier TREY Hendrickson, they were going to do that. It just makes good tactical interdivision sense for you to weaken somebody that has a quarterback that has it in for you. Okay. Let's be clear about that. So you take one of the big defensive stars away from, you know, a fairly contentious team. And when I say contentious, I'm talking about with the ability to contend for a division title, but given the constraints in their front office, they always inhibit it. But again, if they can keep Joe Burrow healthy, they're going to be in every game. But TREY Hendrickson gets to pressure his boy twice a season now. I think Baltimore was ahead of the curve. That's why the Ravens are the Ravens and the Bengals are the Bengals. You know, and it just worked out that they were pawns in the Game of Thrones that is the NFL's off season, the tampering period. This is great. I mean, so um, it'll be interesting to see who wins this. Okay, interested in seeing how it plays out this season. And who really gets screwed out is definitely the Raiders, who've got uh they were expecting to get $30 million in cap savings, all right, to add new free agents, like the center from Baltimore, Tyler Linderbaum. Wow. So the Raiders just can't seem to get out of their own way. And if I'm Tom Brady, see, these are the moments you wonder what Tom Brady, the owner, is doing to help make the team better and what he's learning from the process, of going around the country to be Fox's #1 analyst. You learn things that way. And obviously, maybe he's not learning enough or he's learning on the fly. But this is a random decision that you would think that somebody, but then again, with the Raiders, I will say this: they're banking on Mendoza to be that guy. I think Mendoza, the number one pick, can be that guy. But you're gonna have to surround him, and those are the parts. That's where the Raiders front office comes up short. Now, again, you get guys like Crosby, you do well, but you can't pick the right coach. Uh, a lot of players that I know who have played for the Raiders say that they're kind of cheap in terms of facilities and treatment and all that kind of stuff. Everything's um everything's on a budget type of deal. So I get all that. They got to find a way to stay within their budget and keep their best players. And one of the ways you do that is you create like a distraction. So here we go. We got an injury now. So you buy a little time from the fan base, you get hosed, works out for everybody. And that's what we got going on here. Reality show stuff at its finest. But I will say this. Now, I'm a big believer in the old school saying that ball don't lie. What goes around comes around. And if there was any chicanery or uh, malfeasance, I would hope that the league is going to get to the bottom of this because this is a bad look. It is. You don't want fan bases to feel like you playing with them emotionally during the off season, and that's a kick in the gut to both sides. Remember, we talking about living, breathing human beings that are still forking up the money to buy those season tickets. They got a right to know how much they want to put down. Do you want a full season package or a half season package? Am I going to travel to London or am I going to stay at home? Those are the things out of consideration when you're doing that stuff that front offices ought to consider, but they won't. It's about the bottom line. And I guess what the folks in Baltimore are saying is our bottom line is getting to the Super Bowl now. Now, again, wow, I hate that they are losing Kyle Hamilton, I believe, but if you can get the kind of pass pressure that a guy like Trey Hendrickson gets, because I really wanted Trey Hendrickson for my team in Washington. I thought that, instead of fiddling around last year, Adam Peters should have, really considered something along the blockbuster move lines. But Washington is building up draft capital, so they feel as though they can go to the draft and find some, home runs. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And you got to understand that if you're long suffering uh, Redskins slash Commanders fan, you're still dealing with some PTSD. Okay, stuff stuff is you saw your wonderful moment crash and burn in the conference championship game, and then the next season your quarterback is broken. Okay, so again, we can turn the corner, but I will say this: as a fan of the Commanders, uh, I was disappointed to see that Hendrickson is now a member of the Raiders. I mean Ravens. And what that means is he too can fight the team from up the block during training camp. Ain't nothing like those boys being the boys, right? No matter what you do, they just don't seem to get along on either side of the parkway. It is your boy, Professor G. Mark Gray. It's OG Sports Rap on Sports Rap Network and on Substack at Sports Rap OG. Remember, download the mobile app. We all we got. Mm, mm. Okay, so let's go mix these. Let's rock a little Jay-Z with this. What a dope. Really? Come on. Are you serious? Pete Hegseth is pushing defense employees to volunteer with the Department of Homeland Security.
To do what?
To volunteer with Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, I ain't volunteering for it. Damn.
The defense secretary has made clear that Pentagon managers are to encourage workers, including civilians, to volunteer to assist in the administration's immigration crackdown.
No, you cannot.
Wow.
You know, all he wants to. That's so illegal, first of all.
It is.
Second of all, ain't nobody volunteering for shit.
Well, there are.
In there now. Didn't volunteer.
Maxx Crosby, only pawn in game of football.